Is the point of question. Why is it that Trump spoke first? Well, Rahul Gandhi visits the United States a lot. Maybe he can ask Donald Trump. Surely that's a question that Donald Trump needs to answer. How can the Prime Minister know what is going on in Donald Trump's mind? And when hasn't, viewers, Donald Trump jumped the gun, spoken without thinking? He's done it in the past. He did it, viewers, in his first term, when he said that, look, the Prime Minister of India has asked me to mediate. And when India objected, he quickly took it all back and said, no, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, I'm backing off. You guys sort it out yourself. This is the old stated position. Now, viewers, Josh, it was not just in the Jawans, it was also in all of us. And our first reaction was also, let's go and take over Lahore and Islamabad and this, that, the other. But we are sitting in our air-conditioned rooms. We were not going to be facing, viewers, the prospect of nuclear Armageddon. That would have been faced first by the use of tactical nukes by our armed forces. And then, of course, viewers, there would have been a blowback here in India. Let's be clear. Till the facts were out, viewers, or weren't out, we could have all these delusions. But once the facts were known, I think we are all mature enough to realize what really was the thinking and why we decided to sue for peace. And not us, viewers, but at least accepted a plea for peace. And let's be clear, accepting a plea for peace from a position of power is not surrender, it's statesmanship. But comprehending nuance is not the strong suit of some, viewers. Can one expect understanding from the likes of Sanjay Raut, who is still looking to get back at the PM for the UBT's defeat in Maharashtra, or Atishi, who is the self-professed voice of reason in a party that has admitted a Porsche for theatrics, or Jairam Ramesh, whose party practically auctioned national interest at Sharm el-Sheikh? Modi did not make peace because he had to. He made it because he could and because he delivered on his promises. And what were those promises? The Prime Minister said, and viewers, we put an entire graphic for you. Those who have carried out this terrorist attack and those who have supported and planned it will face a punishment greater than they can imagine. Viewers, more than 100, including top 5 elite Jaish Hind terrorists eliminated. It is only when Pakistan decided to escalate and hit our military targets that we hit them. That was not part of the plan. We weren't planning to hit the Pakistani state. The Prime Minister made it very clear. He also said terrorism will not go unpunished. We will not rest until justice is done. And justice was done. India struck deep into the heart of Pak Punjab, South Punjab, where we've never struck. POJK to dismantle terror machinery. The truce, if anything, viewers, is a calculated pause, one that keeps India's advantage intact while denying Pakistan any shred of face-saving bravado. And the PM has said so. He said Operation Sindoor is the new normal. If there is a terrorist attack on India, a fitting reply will be given. India will not tolerate any nuclear blackmail, will strike precisely, decisively. We will not differentiate between the government sponsoring terrorism and the masterminds of terrorism. He said this. So I don't understand why, unless of course, viewers, this is about petty politicking, that this series of questions has constantly to be asked. And I want to open this up tonight. And I want to first hear from the opposition and get a sense of why these questions actually matter. I don't know if they matter, viewers, especially when the government has set the record straight. And here it is. A headline in the paper makes it quite clear. It's a point-by-point rebuttal. So what are they asking the Prime Minister? Dr. Raman, please explain to me, why is this question being posed? And what material difference does it make? In any case, I don't understand. Because the aim was only limited. It was to target the terror infrastructure and those that back it, which we have done. It was never to target the Pakistani state. The Prime Minister never mentioned Pakistan even in his Bihar speech or any other subsequent speech. He made 4.
Rahul, I think that there are 3 or 4 issues that we need to get clarity on. And the most obvious issue is the fact that the announcement happened in Washington and not in Delhi. So I think that that is something which definitely needs clarity beyond saying that Trump will be Trump. I think that that's not really enough of an answer to say that he shoots his mouth off and therefore it's okay. The point is he has since mentioned it 5 times, a total of 5 times that President Trump has said that in fact, the word he used yesterday was brokered. He used the word brokered. And today, on Air Force One, on his way from Saudi to Qatar, he has again doubled down and said the same thing. So, what is it that we are trying to say when we say that no, this was an independent decision? It had nothing to do with the mediation of the United States.
Yes.
So that is really the point. That is really the point. Now, you can say that maybe the U.S. president was prone to hyperbole, but the point is, Marco Rubio said that. No, 1 second. Marco Rubio said that. Secretary of State, Vice President Vance came out publicly. So multiple people in the United States have. No, I'm sorry. 1 minute. They've all come out publicly speaking of their role in the mediation. Now, either they mediated or they did not mediate. Why is this such a confusing issue? And to me, it still seems strange that nobody senior has thought it wise to tell President Trump that if what he is saying is factually incorrect, to tell him in as many words that it is factually incorrect. We have not said that, to the best of my knowledge. All that we've said is skirting around the issue. I've not actually seen a single statement saying that the US did not mediate in getting the ceasefire done. All I've heard is the ceasefire was done by direct talks between the DGMOs and stuff like that. But there was no direct rebuttal saying that the United States had no role in the ceasefire. That is the issue, which is what the opposition is actually asking. Why is it that this rather important piece of information is not being clarified? It takes a minute to say the words of the US president are not factually correct. And India believes that the US had no role to play as far as arranging this ceasefire was concerned. It was done purely between these two countries and by the DGMOs on both sides. End of story. It would take 2 minutes to put out a statement like this. We haven't seen that now.
Okay,
and
are you sure that has not been said?
One last point.
Are you sure that has not been said? His claim was that I sold. I'll now. No, hang on. Let's take it one by one. Right?
One last point, Robert. One last point.
Yeah, make your point.
The other thing that was rather disappointing to see was there was a ceasefire violation day before yesterday night. 24 hours after the ceasefire came into effect, there were drones fired in the area of Jammu. There was an aircraft which flew, Indigo aircraft which flew from Delhi to Amritsar, which had to turn back. And what did we see from our agencies and media? No, these are only minor incidents. There is nothing to worry.
Sir, that was also answered by the DGMOs. The DGMOs said that sometimes it takes a while for the chain of command to activate itself. This was categorically asked, and it was categorically replied. No, 1 second. Yes, sir. No, not more than 24. It was actually put to him, and he very clearly put it out there. There will be mischief, viewers, and therefore Operation Sindoor, let's not forget, no one has called it off. This is not it is not a ceasefire, it's an understanding. And the understanding is that if you guys behave, we're going to be okay. If you don't behave, we will hit you doubly hard. This is an understanding. This is not a ceasefire. This is not even an agreement. This has been made very clear. And on the point of Suman C. Raman, talking about whether Trump was told off, I'll now quote viewers, because he was told off to a specific question. Remember, viewers, what Trump said? Trump said that I promised them lots of trade lollipops if you behave. And that was a deal. And they all got very excited about it. That is exactly his words. I've got the quote. Now, viewers, what does the spokesperson say on the Trump's claims on trade? Specific question. Quote, from the time Operation Sindoor commenced on 7th May till the understanding on cessation of fire and military action on 10th May, there were conversations between Indian and US leaders on the evolving military situation. The issue of trade did not come up in any of these discussions unquote. On the contrary, there is widespread understanding in the world that Indian tourists were the victims of terrorists at Pahalgam, and the epicenter of terrorism is across the border in Pakistan. A number of foreign leaders in their conversations with Indian counterparts recognize India's right to defend itself and protect its people. I also draw your attention to UN Security Council press statement 25th April, which states that the need to hold perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors of this reprehensible act of terrorism accountable and bring them to justice. They stress that those responsible for these killings should be held accountable, unquote. Very specifically, viewers, saying that Trump lied. And he is a liar, which is a fact. Let's face it, viewers. He's been called a liar by his own public, his own press, the opposition.
For him not too long ago.
Well, who?
We.
What? Who we?
I don't know.
What are you talking about, Sumansi Raman? What are you talking about? Who stood there?
Who said Ab ki baar Trump Sarkar?
So, this is 5 years back, sir.
He was a good
in time,
man then.
5 years back. Okay, things have changed.
Then he started lying now.
Anyhow, 1 minute. I'm not going to sit here, viewers, and hold a candle for anybody. Look, viewers, till I saw the facts myself, even I wondered if we had shortchanged ourselves. This is a fact. But we all have a right, viewers, to see the facts and then come to a certain more, perhaps reasoned conclusion. But because I'm not seeing those indications, I'm wondering if there is something more to this. But anyhow, let's open this up. The BJP national spokesperson will respond. General Bakshi is here. Tilak Devasher is here. And we also have Akashdeep Muni. Yes, please go ahead. BJP national spokesperson here with us also. Ajay Alok, please go ahead, sir. Respond to Dr. Raman saying that we have not specifically responded. The Prime Minister sold us out.
Rahul, I see the paucity of grey matter increasing day by day, and especially during war times. Trump, he is the President of the United States of America, and he loves to be in Alice in Wonderland. So let him be. But to take him on the face value, in spite of when your Prime Minister, your Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson, everybody saying Director General Military Operations informing the country, but you are not believing, you are believing someone like Alice in Wonderland. But remember, our forces today are like Alice cracking in Terrorland. But you forgot that, just because of minuscule political reasons. I'll say 2 or 3 things only. Not much more is required, because we don't have to convince you. The people of this country are convinced, very much convinced. What Trump did? Trump never made any announcement. Trump just informed by his tweet that India and Pakistan are going to have a ceasefire. Minute by minute, everything was explained that at 12:30, the DGMO Pakistan tried to contact it. There was no conversation. At 3:30, again the DGMO of both the countries spoke, and the Pakistani themselves offered a ceasefire. We never started the war. So why we should propose a ceasefire, and why we will accept the ceasefire? We never started the war. We went to hit the terrorists, and we have hit them hard. And we were responding to Pakistanis who were attacking our soil. The war was not officially started, never. So the question of ceasefire does not arise. It was just temporarily stalled. Our strike was temporarily stalled.
Operation Sindoor is
still going on. That the Prime Minister, the Operation Sindoor is still going on.
Yes.
And by echoing all these words, you are just putting Pakistan in a very good frame, because I see it very clearly that when our soldiers were killing terrorists, when our soldiers were destroying air bases of Pakistan,
yes,
obviously they were in pain.
Okay.
But in our country also, I can now see there are lot of people that were in pain. So I can't help them.
Well, this is,
and I don't need to answer to all this trivial question.
According to the BJP, this is playing to the political galleries. And let me tell you, viewers, something. You see, I have a problem. Why should we take Trump's word as final? The Prime Minister of our country has spoken, the FS has spoken, the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, the spokesperson has spoken, our DGMOs have spoken, our EAM has spoken, but we are going by what verbal ballistic missile was fired by a credit-snatching president who could not even broker the principal truce that he promised he would deliver in the first 100 days in office, which was between Russia and Ukraine. All of them have walked away from the table. So here he was trying to champion how great a deal maker he is to burnish his own, well, obviously to, first of all, to give himself a ego massage and then to burnish his own credentials. Yes, very quickly, sir. I want to open this up to the others.
Yeah, I'll just recall you all guys, when Trump was campaigning for presidential campaign and he was asked about Prime Minister Modi when he was supposed to visit US. He said that Prime Minister Modi is a very good friend of mine and he's very, very aggressive. Once I told him that should I offer to mediate between you and Pakistan, he said no, not at all required. We have been fighting with them for the last 75 years and I know how to deal with them. That was his words during campaigning.
That's true.
You can take out that archive.
That is true.
Second
I
thing,
will
recently in United States, when the Prime Minister Modi went to meet him, and specific questions were asked that Hindus are being targeted in Bangladesh, what do you plan to do, Mr. President? President clearly said, I'm not going to do anything about Bangladesh, Prime Minister Modi is going to take care of it. Now, Trump expects India to take care of Bangladesh, and Congress expects that yes, the mediation between India and Pakistan was done by Trump. The great is the Congress.
Let me tell
Trump
you,
Trump is not great. Congress is great.
Okay, so let's open this up. General Bakshi, where do you come in on this? Because as far as I'm clear, May 9th is when US VP J.D. Vance dials Prime Minister Modi, who tells him an Indian retaliation will be bigger, deeper and harder. May 10th, early hours, Pak attacks 26 locations. India responds by striking the Pak military bases. May 10th morning, so this is around 9 o'clock in the morning, Pakistan Army Chief General Asim Munir talks to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, I was on air at that time, who dials EMS Jaishankar. On May 10th, 12:37 p.m., Pak reaches the High Commission. Pak High Commission reaches out for a call with the Indian DGMO. There's a technical problem, so we don't pick up. Viewers, India-Pak DGMO speak and agree to stop military action and firing from 5 p.m. at 3:35. At 5:25, Trump announces a ceasefire. Has any of this been denied by America? No, viewers, it hasn't. But no, we will still believe what Trump says. So India has put out the entire sequence. It has never been denied by America, General Bakshi, yet we have people in this country who have a problem.
Right. Rahul, I'll just make 2 points. Number one is when Donald Trump took charge after his resounding election victory, he had a grand strategic design. He wanted a couple of years of peace and quiet in the world so that he could fix the American economy, he could deal with the deep state,
yes,
he could, bring up to speed the American armed forces because they had expended their reserve stocks of missiles and artillery ammunition in the what he felt was a totally pointless Russia-Ukraine conflict. He wanted to pivot back to Asia so that he could deal with China as the principal threat, principal antagonist, principal competitor, right? So this was his anchor premise when he started. He made energetic attempts to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. He thought he could do it in 24 hours. He had got some real reality checks. The war is still they are blazing away at one another. Possibly there is the chance now of direct talks that Putin has offered with Ukraine in Turkey, right? Whether they'll work or not, I hope they work. We'll see. He also tried to clamp down the Israel-Middle East conflict. For a while he seemed to succeed, and now I believe there is strong dissonance between him and Netanyahu, right? He found suddenly the India-Pakistan thing exploded, and he had a good equation with Prime Minister Modi, right? And he thought this is low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Nobel Peace Prize never seemed so close. Never seemed so close, And he's found low-hanging fruit. He said, let's go for it. India-Pakistan, let's mediate and let's solve it. That is what he thought. There were a few details that he forgot in his eagerness, for low-hanging fruit, for pulling off something, which slightly tarnished his peacemaker image with the no-show in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine, and in the Middle East. So I thought he was very, very eager. And then there is that little thing about the intelligence that JD once got, which he shared with the Prime Minister, which the intelligence that JD once got, whether he shared with the Prime Minister, and that was about the nuclear factor, on which I will talk separately, if you permit me, but the fact is that started the chain of the American so-called mediation. Now, bear in mind, India never asked for mediation. Right? India never asked for mediation.
That has not been contradicted by anybody
Marco Rubio spoke by anybody. When Marco Rubio spoke to our foreign minister, he said, look, we've been giving them off ramps immediately after we hit the terror camps, and thereafter they're not taking it. So you speak to Pakistan, don't speak to us.
Okay.
Marco Rubio then speaks to Pakistan's General Asif Munir.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He speaks directly to Asif Munir because he knows the Pakistan government, civilian government is a facade. Is a facade. Right? And then, he is told to ask your DGMO to speak to their DGMO. That is the only hotline which is working.
So that is the sequence, isn't it, General Saab? That is the sequence. Tilak Devashare, I can't understand. Yes, of course, we had the upper hand. Now we can have all said that let's take over Pakistan. Let's become the new lords of Pakistan. Are we forgetting that there was a small complication in the matter? Tilak Devashare, it's not as easy, is it?
Rahul, I think what everybody is missing is that what were our objectives? Why did this whole thing start? It started because of the horrific terrorist action in Pahalgam. I think the Cabinet Committee on Security and all the people who met, and the Cabinet, and I think the opposition was also briefed, India's objective was to go after the terrorists, which we did very successfully on the 7th. It was when Pakistan escalated that the sequence even started. So to say that we stopped when we were on the upper hand, or where is the surrender and all that, is absolutely meaningless. You have achieved your success 100% to your objectives.
That's it. You achieved
100%. End of story.
End of story. So I want to bring in Mr. Muni. If it's the end of story, then what is the story that your party is spinning? I mean, the objective, would you disagree that the objective has not been met, which was to attack terror infrastructure and eliminate some terrorists? Yes or no?
Rahulji, on April 22nd, the perpetrators attacked innocents in Pahalgam. Today we know that Ali Bhai and Asif Fauji, who came from Pakistan, are still not with us.
Mr. Muni, don't change the goalposts. Your leader, the leader of opposition, excuse me, is not talking about those people. That was a fourth question. Let's come to our first question, and that is, the Prime Minister claimed that Pakistan folded its hands and he showed mercy. But where is the proof of that surrender? Where is justice for the victims? Why did India remain silent when the US took the lead in declaring a ceasefire? India has not remained silent. India has come out and said Trump is dying. Number one. Number two, sir, second question. If the limited objective, and are you denying that that was the limited objective of getting the terrorists who have perpetrated this from across the border? The Prime Minister said so. He did it on the first day. Don't you see the proof? Should I show you the proof? I'll show you the photographs of Bhagalpur.
Now let me come in. Now the very first phrase is that where is justice for victims? Where is Hashim Musa, who is the mastermind of this attack sitting in Pakistan?
Listen.
Why have we called a ceasefire?
Listen, why don't you do one thing? You take that Diwali fire rocket that you have. No, 1 second. Because you have banned Diwali celebrations in Delhi, I'm sure you've got a couple of those rockets lying at home, unused. Why don't you light them and you send them across the border to Pakistan and do what the military... Are you saying that the Indian military is incompetent?
Rahulji,
are you saying the Indian military is incompetent? It's a simple question.
Rahulji, the Indian military did not call ceasefire.
Is the Indian military incompetent? Yes or no? is the Indian military incompetent? They did what was asked of them, which was to eliminate terror infrastructure. The Prime Minister is on record. What is wrong with people? Did the Indian military, was it ever tasked with taking over Lahore, Islamabad? I'm asking you a question. Was the Indian military tasked with taking over Lahore and Islamabad? Yes or no?
Sir, where is Hashim Musa, the perpetrator, the mastermind? Still we have called a ceasefire without catching
Okay. Tilak Devashare, a quick response to that, and then I want to move on, because this is a cycle of people just wanting to change the goalpost and just attack the Indian military because they want to score a political point. Shame on these people. Yes, Tilak Devashare, quick response to this man. Where is the Musa character? That is why we have failed.
Please ask him, how long did it take the United States to get Osama bin Laden?
It took the better part of, I think, 10 years.
Exactly. Both Democrats and Republicans. Did anybody say, why haven't you got rid of Osama bin Laden?
But I can't blame the AAP, sir. Don't blame the AAP. They've been only used to running a small principality like Delhi and running it into the ground. They have no concept of what it takes to find a person. My dear friend, at this rate you will say,
but I am still worried that why there is...
you don't worry, you let the army do its job, you let Akash air system do its job. आप अपने वो जो पटाखे आपने बचा के रखे वो आप फाड़िए, आप मौज कीजिए, तब तक relax, calm down. Okay viewers, let's just move on, because we have to look at something called Turkey. Now Turkey, viewers, is also playing up. And we have Tilak Devashare, we have General Bakshi to talk a little bit about it, and also, of course, Sushil Pandit. Turkey's military support to Pakistan reportedly, even during the 5 days that India was pummeling Pakistan. Its unabashed advocacy for Pakistan's terror tactics, its openly anti-India stance on Kashmir, on other hot-button issues ranging from CA to Article 370, its bonhomie with China in a bid to outflank India at various international fora have spawned a massive backlash in India. Many spontaneous calls for banning Turkey are erupting all around the country. Tour operators, flight booking websites, traders and numerous civic groups are voluntarily pledging to boycott Turkey, to stop travel to Turkey, to stop buying Turkish food products. JNU has even called off an important agreement with its Turkish counterpart. Turkish backing for Pakistan, especially during the last fortnight after Pahalgam, was more than evident. Viewers, there are lists of instances how Turkey actually helped Pakistan in this last 1 month period of time. Viewers, can we, however, exercise leverage over Turkey? Because we did so successfully. You may recall that when Maldives backstabbed us, we the people brought the island nation to its knees. Turkey is less dependent on India, and the question therefore is, how much leverage can India exert on Turkey? Now viewers, there will be some statistics and you will see that there is limited influence, but I'm not going to hog the space. I want to bring in Tilak Devashare. I want to bring in General Bakshi. Tilak Devashare, can we actually get Turkey to basically begin to speak a more neutral language? I'm not even talking about a pro-India language, but at least a neutral language, to at least confront them with the reality of why they should not be backing Pakistan.
I think the way forward will be economic. I mean, I was shocked. There are 2.4 lakh, or was it 2.4 million tourists, Indian tourists, visiting Turkey, and similar number who visit Azerbaijan. I think, and I'm glad some travel companies have now stopped further booking or cancelled their bookings. The way to do it is to hurt Turkey's purse. They have a very high inflation. The economy is not doing too well, and I think backing off for Indians to back off from going to Turkey or buying Turkish products or importing stuff from Turkey, we should do that in a large measure and across the board, like we did with Maldives. You know, the campaign which was started against Maldives, it may pay dividends. Similarly, it's not going to happen in one day, Rahul. It will happen over a period of time. But the message must go across to Turkey that you can't do this. Erdogan has his own ambitions to revive the Ottoman Empire, to become the caliphate and things. That's his problem. That's certainly not India's problem. And if you think that's the way to do it by hurting India, you've got another thought coming.
Okay.
I think this message must go to him very, very clearly.
Trade is the primary tool. General Bakshi, do you agree, or do you think some other screws can be turned?
No, certainly, because what are his vulnerabilities? As Mr. Daveshar very rightly pointed out, his vulnerabilities are his economy. His political instability stems from the weakness of the economy, right? Therefore, you hit him where it hurts. There are a number of Turkish companies operating air cargo business in India. We can hit at them. There are Turkish infrastructure companies trying to build our Atal tunnel, and we've told them that in national security sensitive places, you just can't come in, pack up your bags and go back home, right? Certainly you will hit them there. You can go even further. You can go even further. Just before I retired, I'd taken a National Defence College delegation to Turkey. Now, the Turks and the Greeks have been having it out in Cyprus, right? The Greeks just do not like the Turks. So when they gave me very broad hints that they wanted Indian weapons, they wanted the BrahMos, they were keen to see what the Akash is like. Now the Akash has proved itself. They wanted our medium artillery guns. That time we were working on Dhanush. ATAGS was in the pipeline. Pinaka is another thing, So, in off-the-record discussions, these were discussed, right? So, if Turkey wants to, Erdogan's son owns that drone company which is selling all these missiles to Pakistan, and he's making a neat profit in the bargain with 300 to 400 missiles that just don't work. Just don't work. It's another thing giving those missiles to Azerbaijan and they bash poor Armenia, which has no air defenses worth the name. Try it against the integrated Indian air defenses. Not one has gone through. They've been a total disaster, PR disaster for their sales. And even the Chinese, the Avic company stock, the Chengdu, Vagera stocks are down.
Right.
Are down because the world has seen.
That's true.
Right?
But
we were
the
a
problem,
bit slow, getting off our marks. Right?
Yeah, but there's a small problem.
Trade. I'll just finish. I'll just finish. There were intelligence reports at one time that Erdogan wanted to recruit some 3,000 terrorists from Syria and send them to Jammu and Kashmir. Right? It's easy to talk the big talk. The Turks had sent a corvette to Karachi, a corvette naval ship. When they saw the carrier battle group led by the Vikrant approaching Karachi, that corvette left in a tearing hurry.
There you go.
It switched off its transponder, radar transponder, that identification of ships transponder, and it ran. Pakistani ships ran into their port and switched off their radar transponders to avoid getting clobbered by the Indian Navy. He is not as tall as he thinks he is.
Fair enough. So to cut him down to size, viewers, obviously we need to also.
He thinks he can get it back.
Okay, so let me bring in Sushil Pandit. Sushil Pandit, one of the small hiccups, let me just put it like that, is that Indian tourists only account for 0.5% of the total tourist inflow, and tourism contributes just 12% to Turkey's GDP. So you can imagine that number. And then the India-Turkey bilateral trade is a healthy $10 billion, but nothing exceptional. And Turkey, in fact, is the 45th largest foreign investor in India. So it's not as if it's even very high up there or it's putting in a lot of money. In fact, Turkish investment in India is only about $210 million. That is chump change, so to speak. And Turkey's exports to India is only about $3.78 billion. So even if we say, okay, we don't want any of your products, yeah, I mean, it'll be a bit of a setback, but it's not as if Turkey is going to be sort of broke. We are not dealing here with Pakistan. So what should we do really?
Well, it may not be large size right now, but Turkish Airlines flies about 14 flights every week, 7 Mumbai, 7 Delhi. And it has fast become a hub for Indians traveling to US or Europe. And they hope to grow it to a much larger size, just as tourism grew more than 20% year over to 23 to 24. That is the potential they are looking at. And we shouldn't forget, Erdogan is the new Mahathir Mohamad. In 2020, when he was talking nonsense about Kashmir, we stopped buying the palm oil. Malaysian palm oil industry came to its new knees. We were the largest buyer. That may not be the clout we hold with Turkey, but we hold a huge promise with Turkey. And we must, not just Turkey or Azerbaijan, we must make an example out of Turkey. This is an opportunity not just to hurt Turkey. It is an opportunity to hurt Pakistan. I have a suggestion to make. They have closed their skies for us. If we ask the global airlines to choose between Pakistan and Turkey, if they want to fly to Pakistan and serve Pakistan, then they should forget Indian business. If they want to look at Indian business, then they should forget Pakistan. I'm telling you, 99.9% airlines will leave Pakistan. There's nothing to do there. And it will choke. PIA is a moribund airline. One way to choke aviation and to, we can ask our friendly neighbors, Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, choose between Pakistan and India and they know which side of the bread is buttered.
That is true.
We have to start making an example. Turkey is given this example on a platter.
That
we
is
should
true.
expand it to a much larger field.
Okay.
And then go ahead in the business of, conducting trade. We should, and for that, first and foremost, we should call a parliament session and brand Pakistan as a terror rogue state. That will give us legitimacy to tighten the screws in economy, tighten the screws in trade, tighten the screws in all kinds of international relationships where we force the world to choose between India and Pakistan, and let's see who chooses Pakistan.
I think that's a very good question, because that's the strategy. Remember, viewers, Saudi Arabia were one of the first and main backers of Pakistan. Today, India has been able to wean them off this Pakistan love. And today they stand a neutralized state, basically a neutral state. And in fact, we have a very promising agreement with Saudi Arabia, viewers. So it can be done. We just have to now apply our minds to it. Let's move on, because viewers, I have a very, very special guest tonight. Remember the scarlet fury of Pak drones? Remember the dread that accompanied their sighting in the night sky, and you can see that on your right. What calamity would they bring, we all wondered. In the end, our apprehensions were overblown. Why? Because we forgot about Akash, the shield of our skies. Whenever danger loomed, Akash rose with unwavering precision, defending not just territory but the heartbeat of a billion souls. Born of Indian ingenuity, nurtured by sacrifice, Akash is more than metal and circuitry. It is our collective resolve cast in steel. What better way tonight, viewers? What better way to pay tribute to it than by speaking to its inventor, Padma Shri, ex-DRDO scientist, Prahlad Ramarao, the unsung hero, viewers, of this major conflict that has broken out between India and Pakistan, and the Operation Sindoor, which continues even as we speak. Thank you so much, Prahlad Ramarao, for speaking to me this evening. Salute to you, sir. Out of reverence, really, to you. Because without your mind, without your application, without your genius, a lot of Indians would perhaps not be here, not be around. So you have been the savior of millions of Indian lives. So Mr. Ramarao, I have to begin by asking you, you have said in the past that your eyes welled up with tears when you saw your baby working so well. You said that when you saw your baby working so well, you almost cried. Can you elaborate on the feeling of the pride that you felt when you saw Akash protect India?
See, those who have done real science and technology work for more than 20 years have done. And for Akash, it took more than 15 years for it to come to a conclusion, hand over to the Army, Air Force. Then we were not at that time when we handed over to Army, Air Force, we never thought it will be used in the real field, in the real battlefield by real soldiers, and how it performs. It's a big tension, and we were all waiting. But it so happened that first of all it gave a good performance.
Right.
Second, it was in a real battlefield.
Yes.
It performed well. So it is you can't explain how your heart swells and your mind works, and you cannot talk. I could not even talk for some time. When I heard the news, then my wife was there. She said, "Take it correctly."
Well,
it has worked well. So then only I could recollect.
No,
Then the first person I remembered was Dr. Kalam.
Oh, Dr. Kalam. Well, Mr. Ramarao, I have to say, you're making me emotional. I think you're making perhaps many, many Indians very emotional tonight. But wow, that was such a magical technology. It is still, of course. And how complex was the science behind designing it, sir? I mean, I know it took you a long time. So how complex was it to get it perfect? So perfect.
See, what happened, normally people develop technology and product. Any missile system, normally in the world, it is a technology. We have to make a product, design, development, assembly, testing, improvement, material choice, and that is normally what happens. But in case of Akash, there was science involved. One science is how to make a phased array radar work. That is a electronically scanning phased array radar. In India, there was no phased array radar before this. When the LRD was doing, and it was called as a Rajendra, respecting the name of the director of LRD. And there's a lot of science in it, microwave engineering, RF engineering, and then digital electronics, microelectronics, everything was involved. So there is a big science there, how to make the radar work for such a missile system. This is one big science question. Second, another science is the propulsion of this missile system is called ramjet propulsion. And there is hardly only maybe one more ramjet propulsion available in the entire world. And we had to develop a ramjet propulsion for the missile, because the Army and Air Force said, I don't want the missile to lose the speed. Whatever speed you generate Mach 2 plus should remain till the missile will go near the target and explode. So it is a big challenge, because normally the speed will keep coasting down, reducing as you fly away and away. So then we evolved what is known as ramjet propulsion, where a lot of science was involved. Chemistry, propellant chemistry was involved.
Wow. Wow. Look, Indian brain, viewers, Indian brain, you can't credit it enough. So, Prahlad Sahab, now tell me, you said at first the military was hesitant to take on board the Akash, even though only one other country has this ramjet technology. So, why was the military hesitant? Could you explain this? This must have been odd for you.
No. The world is apprehensive. Army and Air Force are apprehensive. Whether they will get two questions there. One is, can you have handling capability using a phaser? Second apprehension is, can you get the accuracy hitting target single shot kill probability of very high 99% this missile at the range of 25 kilometers? These are the two apprehensions they had, because we did not use certain technology what they thought will be required. But when we demonstrated to Army and Air Force, I'm happy that both requirements will be met.
Okay, okay, so you talked about accuracy. What makes the missile system so accurate, sir?
Yeah, I was nervous. See, SAM-X, normally any new aircraft and any new missile, they put it until you give a name and a number. Like F-16 was called originally F-X. He also gave X till the name was given. You said I was 34, 35 when the project was sanctioned in 1983. With all the success, I feel still I am 34, 35.
Okay, but you were made project director when you were just 34 years old. It was originally, a project that was thrust to you, and it must have made you so nervous to be leading the design team at that young age, when so much was at stake.
See, of course, I can share only certain details. I cannot share all the details. But the way we did enormous amount of modeling for the missile flight accuracy, target location accuracy at any given instant. Then what is the radio proximity fuse accuracy? Then what is the warhead, how the warhead will explode, and the fragments and pressure and temperature will around the missile cover the aircraft. All have to be very precisely managed. And I'm happy that I had a team of such a dedication. There's a lady, the team was made using 5 laboratories. 5 laboratories, 1 mission, how to improve the accuracy and lethality of the warhead explosion. This was the challenge, but I'm happy the 5 people worked out such a recipe, perfect recipe for this. So the hats off to the team, and they gave the fantastic results.
Well, you're very modest. Viewers, look, this is the modesty. Credits the team first, and that's the spirit of DRDO, viewers. Now I have to ask you, Mr. Ramarao, Dr. Ramarao, I have to ask you this question because it's an important one. The budget was so low, sir, impossibly low, yet you pulled off a miracle. How did that happen? It's unheard of, the shoestring budget that you were working on.
No, of course, sir. India is a frugal country, India. The cost of manpower, cost of services, everything little low when compared to international standard. So our view is, for any complex technological system to be developed, India's budget is approximately 1/10 of the budget in the West or in the Europe. Normally 1/10. So we had at that time 350 crores. To 3,500 crores.
But how has capability developed among scientific circles in India since your time?
No, I want to tell you, India's capability, the youth power, what you call it, youth power, has increased over the last 2 decades. People are smarter, they are more networking, they are more, IT savvy, they are more ambitious, they want to do something on their own, they want to become leaders. So the young team, youth power is full of energy, which was less when we were all young. So I think we have a youth available to us which are much better equipped and also supported by the parents.
Yeah. There is a STEM culture, you're right. There is a STEM culture and it's supported by parents. You're absolutely right about that. I want to ask you, there is a story behind why this system was called the Akash. Can you elaborate?
No, not name, it's a Namakaran, what you call it now, naming ceremony. When the project was approved, it was called the medium range surface to air missile system. Is the name. So we call SAMX. Then one day, Dr. Kalam called all the scientists from the laboratory. About 20-30 people were there. So let us give the name. So you said this is what. So I went and presented what the missile is supposed to do on a blackboard. Then said, now all of you kindly give the names. So each of these scientists gave a name, or 6 names were put on the blackboard. So then Kalam said, let us go pick one of them. Then it was discussed. Then Kalam said, see, it is going from ground to air. Jami, Prithvi to Akash. Why don't you call it Akash? Everybody liked it. Sir, I think it's a good name, let us call it Akash. So the naming ceremony concluded, everybody clapped, and it was called Akash. After that, of course, I was not the project director, I was only a scientist.
Well, I mean, it's these stories, they make your hair stand at an end. I mean, these stories, they give you the goose flesh. These are such beautiful stories. Now, how you're talking about Dr. Kalam, how instrumental was Kalam, sir?
No, Kalam, see, he's a mentor. He was a mentor and a leader, and his capability is amazing. It's a big thinking, nation level thinking, international thinking is very high. He's always a big thinker. At the same time, he can go to micro details. Because he was a project director himself at the ISRO, and he went to a lot of small details. So his strength is he can focus micro details and keep big thinking simultaneously. So that is his strength. Third strength is bringing the people together. The engineer, the professionals, then the researcher, the politician, and the way he used to bring people and synergize. See, we used to work for ISRO used to work for us. See, this synergy, even atomic energy, we used to work, they used to work. So this synergy was one he brought in, national level synergy to achieve an objective. Probably this is something which is unique to him. And other unique thing I told you is micro details he can keep focus, he can do big thinking. These are the two strengths which have given me, I'm sure I have learned a lot from him. Thank you for that.
So what a beautiful tribute to also your mentor. Thank you so much, sir. We owe so much to you. We revere people like you, sir. Thank you so much. You kept millions of Indians safe. And what more can we ask? Thank you. Thank you. We leave it at this, viewers. Balki Sharma with The Vantage next.